Hi, welcome to The State Room, a podcast dedicated to covering the key issues and events that will define the future of Arizona. I'm your host, Scot Mussi. Today on our program, we're going to be talking about several major court battles that are impacting Arizona and why we need a strong attorney general that'll defend our laws and our constitutional rights. Over the last couple of years, Attorney General Kris Mayes has repeatedly refused to defend Arizona's laws and constitution in court. Instead, her office has spent most of her time engaging in political witch hunts, suing the Trump administration, targeting her partisan political opponents here in the state. That's left a legal void here in Arizona, one that fortunately has been filled by the Republican legislature here in Arizona. Through the state Senate, multiple lawsuits, interventions, amicus briefs, other court filings have been filed and taken action through our state Senate to defend our laws on key issues such as protecting women's sports, requiring proof of citizenship in order to register to vote in our state. And just recently, action was taken to defend our state on the Secure the Border Act, a recently voter-approved law that allows our local law enforcement to enforce our immigration laws. Joining us today to talk about all of these issues is Senate President Warren Petersen. Senator Petersen's been representing Legislative District 14 for over a dozen years, 15 years now in Arizona. He has been the Senate President for 4 years and is now running for Attorney General here in Arizona. Warren, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on the show, Scott. Great to be with you.
Great. Well, just to kick it off, the last, couple years, you're not the Attorney General, but you've kind of had to act like it. Stepping in, defending our state on these laws. What's that been like? What's been the role the legislature's been played? When did you decide and how did you even decide that this is what you're going to have to do?
Yeah, it's been a really unique situation. In fact, I've gone around the country talking to other states about it. In the event they end up with a rogue AG like we have here in Arizona. So 4 years ago, became the Senate President. Arizona's unique in that the Arizona Senate President has standing when our Attorney General is not defending the law. Consequently, I'm now managing over 130 cases, amicus briefs, or intervention, as you mentioned, this type of litigation. Everyone can go to my website, check these out, petersen4ag.com. So you can kind of get a sense for all of these things. We're really lucky we have this statute. From what I understand, it was passed the last time we had a Democrat AG who wasn't defending the laws. Fortunately, we had a Republican governor. This legislature acted, gave the Senate President and the Speaker of the House standing. Fast forward to today, I bring in Josh Credit as my chief of staff. He came from the AG's office. And so I had the perfect person with me to basically set up a mini Solicitor General's office down at the Senate. It was funny. I ran into a Supreme Court justice who was like, I like your mini Solicitor General's office you guys have set up down there. So we've, what it's been like is, yes, we have been filling one of the roles of the AG because she's not protecting our values. She's not defending our laws.
Yeah, and one of those 130 cases, one of those, the Save Women's Sports Act.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about that. Like what's in the legislature, passed it. It's now being challenged in court. What's going on with that?
Sure. Well, the Republican Party is now just the party of common sense versus insanity. Here we are now just passing common sense laws like the Save Women's Sports Act. 5 years ago, I co-sponsored that law. It barely passed by one vote because all of the Democrats voted no, which surprises people, but that is how insane the Democrats are, who are legislators, not necessarily a rank and file Democrat, but the ones who run and win for office. So barely passed by one vote. Governor Ducey signed it into law. Fast forward to today. Two boys who think they're girls sued the state of Arizona. Kris Mayes, proudly LGBT, will not defend the law. So I stepped up, defended the law. You can Google it, Warren Petersen versus Jane Doe. Took that all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. I was there in January, sitting next to Attorney General McCuskey from West Virginia. He's endorsed my campaign. I was also sitting next to Attorney General Labrador, who has also endorsed my campaign. They were both arguing the Save Women's Sports Act for their state. And as everybody has probably heard, just within the last couple of weeks, the court ruled on it 6-3. Three judges didn't know what a woman, still don't know what a woman is apparently, but 6 of the judges upheld the law. So what that means is Arizona's law now is in effect that we passed. And now again in Arizona, girls are protected in girls' sports here in the state.
That's just fantastic. And on that court case itself that went up to the U.S. Supreme Court, I thought it was interesting even that even among the liberal justices, two of them were even acknowledging and even giving a nod. I mean, they were even recognizing, talking about the legal aspect of this, how it was inconsistent to talk about making sure that we have equal protection for women. And then simultaneously, the lawyers that were arguing the case couldn't even define what a woman was.
Right. No, it was total lunacy. It was bizarre. I was there, and oral arguments. If you've for those who don't know, they might last 30 minutes. This was 3 hours and 15 minutes arguing about what was a woman. It was one of the longest court cases in the history of America, and on this subject, this is where we are right now in America. Again, it's just common sense versus insanity.
And the culmination of that case, what does that mean for even with states taking actions on these types of issues, whether it be saving women's sports or even similar issues related to this? Was the ruling and how the court came down on something that you feel confident that Arizona going forward will be able to continue to take steps to protect, for example, women in sports or even other issues protecting women's rights and their safety?
Well, what they said was that states can prevent boys from being in girls' sports. So you still need a good state legislature passing the right laws. You need the Save Women's Sports Act in every state. We have it on the statutory level. We are putting it on the ballot. So this fall, we're going to have a chance to vote or protect it. There's no doubt in my mind this will pass by 80%. So that is important because should Arizona ever go blue and you get these crazy legislators in there, they will literally vote to repeal the Same Women's Sports Act.
So this is going to be on the ballot in November, and it's how does it define by biological sex, correct?
Yeah, biological sex. So biological boys cannot play in girls' sports, and this is important because even though we have the statute, again, and I think it's 26 states have now passed this, but sadly, 24 states are still allowing boys and girls sports, which is totally insane. But yeah, we do need to vote or protect it this fall. That'll make a difference.
Yeah, and this is something that's even personal to me. I have 3 daughters.
Yeah,
it's a danger issue, and people can get seriously hurt by allowing these types of activities to happen, by letting boys come in and play women's sports.
It is a biological fact. Boys have more muscle mass. They have more lung capacity. They have larger bones. It is a biological fact, and it is extremely dangerous to allow boys to play with girls in sports.
All right, a couple years ago, legislature passed what we considered landmark legislation. It's legislation that our organization worked on dealing with requiring proof of citizenship in order to register and vote in our elections. Governor Ducey signed it, became law. We're the only state in the country that has these requirements. After it passed, dozen different far-left organizations sued to try to block this thing in court. It's now been in court for several years, but over the last 4 years, it's been important to make sure that we have a strong legal defense on this. The Senate stepped in, intervened in that case as well. How has that kind of gone? What have you seen through the course of that litigation?
Another 80-20 issue. We believe that only citizens should be voting in our elections, and most people do. And I do want to thank the Free Enterprise Club because you guys led the way on this issue. You really were the tip of the spear at the legislature, and you helped, author this legislation and push it through. So great job. Kudos to the Free Enterprise Club. But yeah, the second it signed into law, there's been litigation. This one's Mi Familia versus Warren Petersen. And of course, we had other parties. You have the, RNC is involved. You guys were engaged with this. This is one where I spent 8 hours in deposition. I mean, I don't know if you've ever done a deposition before. Root canal is much more enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
But the whole angle on this was they were trying to accuse me of being racist. They were really disappointed to learn my wife is Mexican. so that was, that didn't work very well. They were trying to call any organizations who supported it like yours racist. They were saying the other legislators were related. It was really a weak and pathetic argument. This is another one we've taken all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. So we will continue to fight this and make sure that only citizens are voting in our elections. This is just common sense stuff like, hey, if we find out somebody's not a legal citizen, we can remove them from the voter rolls. Isn't that just common sense?
You talk about that deposition as part of all that. Those same groups, whether it be Me Familia Vote and a few others, they were subpoenaing us, and as a third party to this, where this is a civil lawsuit coming after us. We had a year-long fight over it. And it turned out it was a lot of what you were describing. It was these allegations that we were this racist organization, and trying to find this information, this secret information that doesn't exist.
Right.
Because we're not a racist organization. None of this was done based on race. It was just, we only want to make sure that U.S. citizens are registering to vote, and they provide proof of citizenship to do that. And so you describe those depositions, 8 hours, and the entire time it was trying to prove something that just simply wasn't there.
Yeah. It was painful. It was, I think one of the attorneys with me, he's a former judge, and he's like, President Petersen, you should be a professional depositionist, because they ended up using zero. No, from what we saw, they didn't use any of the 8-hour depositions. So
and if you look at what they take up to the court, up to the U.S. Supreme Court now, and what you described, that their argument essentially centers around this idea that the law should be struck down because it had racial animus.
Right.
It was based on that.
It's their only hope. They're desperate. This is an 80-20 issue, and universally, almost people agree. You use ID for everything. You need to use your ID to vote. You need proof that you're a citizen.
Yeah, I mean, Supreme Court upheld it. It's a pretty big deal. I mean, again, Arizona was first in the nation. We know this talk about the SAVE Act in Washington, which is good. We want to see the Congress pass the SAVE Act, but this also demonstrates that states themselves can take action on these issues, correct?
Absolutely. The only area, there is a distinction between, federal only elections and then your statewide and your local. But yeah, this is a perfect example. Kind of like right to try, right to try started by the states. I think Arizona was the first state to do it. And then ultimately Congress passes it. So part of Arizona has been good, basically passing our own SAVE Act that, we can get this done as the states, and then hopefully that can get Congress to act so that every bit of it, the elections, not just the state and local, but the federal side is also protected.
A couple years ago, voters here in Arizona approved the Secure the Border Act, a law that was referred by the legislature. That one was partisan as well, too. All the Republicans supported it. The Democrats voted against. Voters overwhelmingly approved it at the ballot. So it's now the law here in Arizona. Well, now the ACLU is sued. They're trying to block the implementation of the law. The Senate just recently intervened in the case. Want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm actually going to probably argue this one myself in the courtroom, because I'm, have been involved with this from beginning to finish, and I co-sponsored the bill. But like you said, this is one, just common sense. It's really what this was, is a hedge against a Biden 2.0. Obviously, under Trump, our border is secure. But if we get Biden again, who is blatantly open borders, we want to make sure we have a law that says we can put our local and state law enforcement right there at the border and stop people from entering. It really is the Border Security Act. Some people are, of course, the ACLU and other groups are trying to paint it as we're going to go, law enforcement is going to go everywhere in Arizona, inside of Arizona, and start deporting people. No, it literally is what the title says. Unlike most bills and laws, the title's wrong. We were accurate on the title. It basically just says local law enforcement can, if we witness people coming into this country illegally, we have a process that we follow. Here's the procedure that we can go through the deportation process.
And with this one, part of this intervention was because the governor originally tried to put this bill on her desk. She vetoed it.
Yeah.
So couldn't get this passed.
I want to say 3 times. This may be one of the ones we put on her. It was more than once. I think we at least twice put it on her desk. She vetoed it. And then we turned around, put it to the voters, and the voters passed at 66%, like 2-1. So it just shows you how out of touch our elected Democrats are. Not necessarily rank and file Democrats, but because obviously Democrats voted for that to pass. And so you've got that on girls' sports, Border Security Act, all, these issues, they're all these 80-20, only citizens voting our elections. These are all 80, really 80-20 issues.
Yeah. And she vetoes it, but also, I mean, you mentioned the other top Democrats. Kris Mayes has been actively opposing this law as well. And so, but now now that it's in court, her office is supposed to be defending it, and we're supposed to trust that.
No,
that's part of the reason for the intervention was specifically because of that.
100%. You and I both know. You and I both know what sue and settle is, where you have two sympathetic parties litigating something. We're going in. She's already openly said she doesn't support it. She called it an unfunded mandate. She didn't support it as it was going through the process. She clearly doesn't. She's biased against the law. We have intervened, and we're going to make sure we defend it to make sure it is enforced the way it was written.
Yeah. And speaking of one of again, Kris Mayes is not looking to defend our laws. She's spending a lot of her time in getting these partisan witch hunts. One of these was on this alternate elector issue where you saw her. She's filed this lawsuit challenging, individuals that wanted to represent as alternate electors as part of a slate for the state of Arizona. And she sued over this. And this has been going on, criminal case, taking this criminal case against these individuals. The legislature, you guys, I believe, filed a brief to defend against this because some of the actions she's been taking look just illegal itself.
I mean, and she loses all the time. I mean, you look at my win rate, it's almost 100%. You look at her win rate, it's atrocious because she just goes off of emotion. I don't like this, so I'm going to oppose it. She should look at the law. She's lost over and over again on these alternate electors. She just, it's bizarre to me. I thought for sure she would have dropped it by now.
Yeah, because it went up to the state Supreme Court, right?
And she lost again.
Lost again.
And now she's trying to redo it, restart.
How much money do you think she's wasted on this?
Well, if you take this along with all the Trump lawsuits and some of the local lawfare that she's doing, she's got to be over $3 million, maybe $4 million. And Scott, you and I both know when it comes to law enforcement, keeping Arizona safe, there's never enough money to keep Arizona safe. So she's literally wasting resources. Here she is, the top cop. And this kind of goes into a segue. Like, this is the reason why I have all the support from law enforcement and she doesn't. It's the first time in Arizona history, a challenger to the sitting AG has all of law enforcement supporting them. And it's because she's wasting money that should be going on lawfare, that should be going to keeping Arizona safe.
And not just the money, but the resources and energy, because if they're spending time on this stuff and these issues, they're not spending it on things that actually are keeping Arizona safe.
100%.
Because you only have so much bandwidth. If you're spending time doing this, you can't be doing these other things. So
that is exactly my point.
Now, talking about the Attorney General race, it's been about a year since you jumped into this. What motivated you? What was the thing that was just the deciding point that said, "Yep, I need to run for the Attorney General to be the Attorney General for Arizona"?
Well, it wasn't my idea. It was brought to me by people who used to work at the office, former assistant AG, and some other folks, some attorneys. They said, Petersen, you'd be a great AG. But what really got me to do it is I love Arizona. I do not want to allow it to turn into California. That is exactly the direction Kris Mayes is headed. She's soft on crime. She's woke, and she's bringing in these weird, issues into our state. And so I think it's been easy to take the AG's office for granted, but now we have this extremely liberal Attorney General, and we all now realize this is a really important office that needs to be, that we need to have a strong person who is willing to protect Arizona and protect our laws.
You're elected day one. What are the top issues or top couple things you want to make sure you get done as Attorney General?
Sure. Well, there'll be a 180-degree change in the mission. Right now, her mission's political lawfare, environmental radicalism. On day one, I'm going to walk in the door. There's 400 attorneys, and I'm going to let them know the mission. The mission is defend the law, defend the Constitution. We fight crime, and we keep Arizona safe. And we're going to root out all the fraud, waste, and abuse in government in the state. If you can't get on board with that, there's the door. But this is the mission of the AG's office.
All right. A lot of times with incumbents, especially with voters, they're undecided, still persuadable. They got to make a decision on this. You got time to talk to that undecided or persuadable voter. What would you tell them? Why do you need to fire Kris Mayes and elect Warren Petersen, Attorney General of Arizona?
Yeah, I think because she's taking us towards California. You look at a state like California, a lot of these liberal states where you see smash and grabs, you see businesses that don't feel safe, you see businesses shuttering, you see people who are scared to send their kids to school. That is really the direction that she's taken us. And then you've seen on all these 80-20 issues, she's not defending our laws. No boys and girls sports. She won't protect our girls. Not only that, but crime issues. She's so soft on crime. You may not realize this, Scott, but she refused to defend a law that would protect Arizonans, families and kids from sex offenders. So I stepped up, defended that law, and won. There was no media coverage on this. So really, they need somebody who will really just do what the job is, and that is defending our laws and the Constitution and keeping Arizona safe.
Yeah, and her loss rate, what did you say again? I mean, it's just been horrific how many cases she has lost.
It's atrocious. I mean, she lost against us. She sued us for cutting her funding, and she had to pay us $40,000 in attorney's fees. She's losing money on these alternate electors. She's lost money on a lot of these Trump court cases. I mean, everywhere you look, it's like she is running the office off of emotion rather than logic and law.
And oftentimes it feels like she's a bully, like she wants to use the office. And this has been her track record. I mean, Kris Mayes has been in the political world now for over 20 years. She first got elected didn't get elected over the corporation. She was appointed by a Democrat at the time, she said she was a Republican, to be at the Corporation Commission. And that was her reputation there, is that she was just a bully. She tried to just push people around. And you just talk to a lot of different people here in Arizona. That's what the sense they get, even dealing with some of the lawsuits she's taken on the alternate electors and others, that she has an attitude that she can just push people around. And from my perspective, it's important when you're in such a position of power, you have to show some humility and also some understanding that you cannot use that position as a cudgel against people that don't agree with you. And that's just something that seems a line she consistently crosses in that office.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, temperament is one of the most important qualities for that office. And we've heard countless stories where she's thrown temper tantrums, where she says, I'm the FNAG, where she blows up with people and, there's F-bombs. Just a few days ago, I don't know if this will make the media. The media loves Democrats. But she had a blow up with some sheriffs just recently, and it got out, and people are hearing about this, where the F words flying around. And, temperament matters. You need somebody there that is going to be logical, that's going to just focus on the laws and not be a vindictive person.
Senator Petersen, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
Yep. And everybody for watching, thank you for joining us again here in the State Room, where we'll continue to cover the key issues and events that'll keep Arizona free. Thank you.